and kids will come at around 3:30 after school. They'll have snacks for a little while, and then we'll move to a different room where there are little computer cubicles, and they'll each go individually with an adult on this experiment that we're going to test them on. And in the meantime, sometimes they'll rotate, so they have a lot of downtime when they're not on an experiment. So this particular semester, they're all working on a puppet show, and they're all making little puppets. So Janet Metcalf is the principal investigator over at Columbia University, and we're working together on this particular research program for the next 3 years. We're testing 3rd and 5th graders, specifically to look at the development of metacognition.
So we did a study in which we pretty much optimized the conditions for kids making judgments of learning. There's one condition in particular, it's called the delayed judgment of learning, where adults are extremely accurate in making their judgments of learning. So what we did was use that task, where we know adults are really good at monitoring what they've learned, and use it with the kids. In that condition, you have the person learn some material, and then you wait a little while, and you give the cue only, and you ask them to make their judgment of learning of whether they're going to be able to get the answer to that. So you give the question, and you ask them whether they've learned the answer. The answer's not in front of them. So what they do, presumably, is try to come up with the answer, and if they can, they say they've got a high judgment of learning or they've learned it, and if they can't, they say they don't know. Well, with adults, the correlations between those judgments of learning and their performance on a later test are of the order of 0.9. So they really do know when they know. And what we found was that with both the grade 3 and the grade 5 children, they had correlations in that task showing accurate metacognitions that were just as good as adults. They were around 0.8, 0.9. So even grade 3 children in our study really do know what they've learned and what they haven't learned if you ask them that question in the right way.
I learned it. The one thing that we wanted to incorporate into this research process is to make sure that kids were motivated to participate. We have this kind of video game setup where we'll put a specific experiment within the video game. Here's an example of one experiment that we've been running, and we call it the Dragon Master game.
Dragon Master.
Dragon Master. Dragon Master. Dragon Master.
You can tell from the kids that they love doing this because it is a game.
Well, first we see the definitions, and then we have to try and see the best words that
we have to guess.
Then if we get it right, we get a little golden coin.
And then when we get 3 golden coins, we get a golden pass.
If we get a certain number of coins and pass, then
go to
you
the next level.
We see the potential of, making learning enjoyable using this kind of rewarding video game setup, and they are learning not such fun materials. They're learning really difficult vocabulary, synonyms, definitions.
Obsidian is volcanic glass.
Hypothesis.
A warehouse, a big building with a lot of places to store your stuff. Vaccination, a shot that you won't get a disease ever.
One example is something that we call the honor-dishonor experiment. We call it the honor-dishonor experiment because we want to compare conditions, for example, where kids study what they want to study and we'll let them study what they want to study versus a condition where they make their choices and we give them the opposite. So it's basically computer-controlled versus self-controlled study, or this metacognitive study.
We let the kids choose what they wanted to restudy, and they had to choose half the items. Now, it turned out that the grade 5 kids did very well on that. They chose the items that they didn't know already, so they had a really systematic strategy. And when we honored their choices for the kids who were choosing appropriately, it mattered. Their performance went way up. So they were choosing the right things, and when we gave them what they wanted, their performance went up. The grade 3 kids, they chose indiscriminately. They were just random on it. So even though their metacognitions were fine, their choices weren't fine. They didn't put that knowledge to any kind of use. And when we honored their choices, it didn't make any difference.
So this kind of thing is really important, because then you can ask the question, well, you know, what's the role of the teacher, right? Should the teacher kind of force or encourage students to study or learn in a specific way? Or do we leave kind of study up to the learner at whatever age?